I'd just like to cover a few sort of items before we get underway with Graham's presentation. So if you're just joining us, hello and good morning. Welcome to all the attendees, and thank you for making the effort to get on to Hopin. Some of you may have found it's not the easiest platform to sign into, but thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you'll find the day fulfilling and very, very interesting. We also want to say a quick thank you to all our speakers, a very talented group, as I'm sure you'll agree. Also, we'd like to acknowledge the support of the sponsors. And throughout the day, do please go to the Expo button on the side of your Hopin screen so that you can visit their booths. I think we've got some from the HDB, Cambridge HOK, Mole Seeds, and of course Beacon Camp. So do please find time to go and look at them and talk to them as well. So after each theme has been completed, we're going to have a sort of break of around about 10 minutes to give the next group time to assemble. And then at the end of the morning and also the afternoon presentations, we'll have sort of some conversation sessions which will allow all the attendees to ask questions, pose questions to the panels, and also the people like myself. So during the presentations, we do ask that you try and keep your audio and video on mute or off, and then any questions that you would like to ask, you can do so at the sessions at the end of the presentation. Now, obviously, this year is slightly different to most conferences. The teas and coffees will be served at your leisure, so go and help yourself as and when you need to. If you do hear a fire alarm go off, please note that it's not the conference centre one, it's probably your own one, so you need to look after yourself and make your way out as fast as you can. So a big thank you also to the organisers of this event. They have spent a huge amount of time in readiness for today's event. We've had experimental sessions pretty much every day for the last 10 days. So Chris Mead, Robin Squance, Wayne Bruff, and Simon Davenport have been instrumental in getting this conference together for you. So, excuse me, with time very much on the limited side today, I'm going to soon hand over to Graham Edwards. Now, Graham is the production director of Woodlawn Nurseries, and he's going to be presenting a grower's experience of direct sales. So, good morning, Graham. Hopefully you can see and hear me, and you're ready with your presentation.
Yep. Good morning, James. Thanks for the introduction. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my presentation on a grower's experience of direct sales. A little bit about me before we get started. So my name is Graham Edwards, and I'm the production director at Woodlawn Nurseries. I have over 10 years experience growing ornamental plants at our family-run nursery in Hersham in Surrey. We're based about 20 miles from the centre of London within the M25, so that has helped in terms of setting up a sort of a delivery service. So bear that in mind. We specialise in bedding plants and poinsettias, and we supply garden centres across the UK. Since Woodlawn was founded in 1963, our focus has been on producing quality plants and delivering excellent customer service, and this is a common theme that we've taken towards our new retail business as well. So that's very important for us. I also just want to add that we started an online shop with local delivery and a click and collect service. I don't think I explicitly say that anywhere through this, just so everyone knows. So why did we set up an online retail store? So it was in response to the challenges we faced in horticulture at the start of the pandemic. When lockdown was initially announced in 2020, we had a nursery full of perishable stock with nowhere for it to go, a lot like most of you, I imagine. And it was the most important time of year with our most important, most valuable crop. So we were really in trouble. Facing the prospect of losing large inventory and over £1 million in revenue, I decided to look into selling plants directly to the public through an online store and creating a home delivery service. As we moved into warmer months, with everyone stuck at home, I knew there would be a demand for plants and compost to keep people busy in their gardens. And the response from people in the local community was particularly positive, with people commenting that it helped with their well-being during a very difficult time. And we won an award for our services to the community during this first lockdown. But in short, why did we set up an online retail store? It was because we had to. We had to sell our plants somehow. We had to get some money in. So that's really the reason why we set it up. So how we did it? How did we do it? So the news of garden centres closing and the potential repercussions on our business, like most of you, left me with tons of sleepless nights as I racked my brain for how I could get products out of the greenhouse and into people's homes. I knew people wanted the products. I knew I needed to let them gain access to our plants, but the garden centres were shut. How the hell do we do this? So the only viable option was to set up an online retail store and offer local delivery. So I contacted the company that built our trade website, which our garden centres log on to, only to be told that a retail website would be a lot of work and cost a hell of a lot of money. So that was a bit of a downer. But they did, however, suggest that I had a go by myself using a DIY style website builder, and this was called Shopify. And it was very kind of them. They helped me in the early stages of sort of setting up and figuring what I needed to do, because I wasn't keen on starting a website when they first mentioned it, because I'm a grower. I had no experience of websites or doing anything with websites apart from Googling stuff. So it was completely new, and I honestly didn't think I could do it. So it was incredibly nice of them to sort of give me a hand in setting it up, but it was also incredibly easy when I got going. And I'm sure, although it was kind of the prospect of us going bust and them not getting paid, inspired a bit of kindness as well. So just want to comment on Shopify a little bit. It's incredibly easy to use. I would recommend using it if you're looking to start a website yourself. I'm able to update stock lines, add products, market directly to customers, view sales figures, pretty much everything you need to do without the need for external web developers, which are costly and quite frankly a bit annoying. And from here, I carried on building the website up. In the first week, we made £100, and I thought the whole plan was just a waste of time, and I wasted a whole weekend. But fortunately, it picked up. So my fiance, who had previous experience with working for a large pub chain with social media, she offered to take over the Woodlark Facebook page very kindly while she was doing her teaching job, and she used it to target local groups to spread the word about what we were doing, that we were selling plants to the public, because we'd never done that before. And from there, it just went crazy. People shared Facebook posts, left fantastic reviews, posted pictures of their gardens filled with our plants. And after a few weeks, a local magazine wrote about a big spread on how recommendations to buy plants from us were absolutely everywhere. So the demand soared as recommendations spread further out, and also as people took more joy in their lockdown gardens. In response, I decided to branch out in terms of products and began selling grow bags, hanging baskets, planted containers, and lorry loads of compost, absolutely tons of it. And we also set up a click and collect service. We had some staff because we weren't very busy with the garden centres. who were sort of needed work. So they managed to pick the plants, which was worked quite well. We kept them busy. But we needed drivers to deliver the plants. So we employed lots of friends that had lost their jobs due to the pandemic. They came to the nursery in their cars, used our vans, and they worked as drivers to keep up with the demand. One friend, a black cab driver, even delivered in his taxi. We sold so much compost that nearly all of our vehicles needed new shock absorbers by the end of the summer. So I do apologise to a few mates who have got dodgy suspension now. So not only were we able to help people out who lost their jobs, but we're also able to retain our staff that were not shielding and keeping themselves safe. So in a nutshell, how we did it, we used Shopify as the place where we set up the website. We've done all the deliveries ourselves. It was all in-house, so we didn't have to sort of rely on anyone else. So marketing, how we marketed what we were doing and our products. So our now stock controller and jack of all trades, my fiance Lauren, used to be a social media manager for a UK pub chain, as I mentioned earlier. She put together a social media plan based on research into the types of consumers that would usually be purchasing our products from garden centres. The plan identified ways to maximise our engagement with potential customers and also how to use tools and features of social media to get the most out of our Facebook posts. I will go into far more detail with my next presentation a bit later. And there is like a how-to guide which Lauren made, which is how to use this, which we used in the spring, which works really, really well. Other than social media, I was able to utilize Shopify's sign-up feature, which basically meant after someone places an order, if they click subscribe, we have their email details, and then I could send them weekly emails to everyone that was interested in what we were doing. These emails consist of like new products, discount codes, deal of the week, which enables us to sell the last of a stock line quickly so we can offer them in a deal. It's just to keep the customers involved. And that's another way we marketed our products and let people know what we were doing. So next one is branding. So branding, it's since the first days of the website being built, I was very conscious about brand image. So Woodlark is not only a business that has decades of reputation to uphold, but is also now my father's business. So it was incredibly important that I maintained our high standards when creating the retail business. The last thing we would have wanted is to sell to the local community and they think we're rubbish, bad service, get a bad name. We want a good name in the local community. Our ethos is consistent across our trade and retail businesses, quality plants and excellent service. We've maintained a 5-star review on Google and Facebook over our nearly a year in trading, and I've never received a negative review to date. So the keys to success in fulfilling our ethos and sort of building a decent retail brand are as follows. Quick replies to all customer queries. We've never had a negative review, but we've had some unhappy customers. I think it just happens. People get out of bed on the wrong side, and you could send them anything and they're moan. But a quick response and commitment to resolving issues thoroughly turns those customer complaints into positive experiences. I think something I've definitely learned is that even if you get a complaint, I used to think, oh, what a pain in the ass. But now I see it as an opportunity to resolve that complaint and show that person how good we are. And that usually results in a positive experience for that person. So it's not always negative. Second thing we done was important was speedy deliveries and just using our own transport service. So we didn't and we don't outsource our deliveries, which means that everything is communicated within our business and there is reduced chance of anything happening to our plants in transit. I think that really helps. So, of course, we do deliver some stuff to the wrong place. Stuff gets broken sometimes, occasionally, but because it's us, we know about it and we can fix it, and we can get new bits and bobs sent out really quickly. So I think that's important. Whilst our friends have found work now, we have a valued team of drivers that know the system well and are committed to excellent customer service. Loading the plants, making sure they don't fall over in transit, and taking products safely into customers' gardens, for example, so elderly people are not lugging around massive bags of compost. Another thing we do is pretty obvious, but we ensure that every care is taken to show the best of our plants, whether that's in the images we take from the website to ensuring the best plants are picked for each customer. So there's most definitely pros and cons to setting up direct marketing and retailing. I'll go over the positives first. So firstly, we were able to recoup the losses that occurred due to the closure of garden centres. This money meant that we were able to save the business and also the jobs of people that work here. We were able to sell products with a greater profit margin than what we do wholesale, quite obviously, and that's quite a novel thing actually from a grower point of view, which is quite nice. We improved the community spirits. I still get emails regularly from customers expressing their gratitude for giving them plants that brighten up their day during tough times. And it's really nice. Lots of people in the local community really got behind our business and behind lots of other local businesses as well. And that's really nice to be a part of. We've diversified the business slightly. Of course, it's only a very small percentage of what we do compared to our core business, which is the trade garden centre side. But it gives us an additional income. We get paid within a couple of days, and it does prepare us for the potential further closures of garden centres, which, touch wood, is not going to happen. It also sort of protects us, gets us ready for any future consumer changes. I think that people are more inclined to buy online now. I think they probably didn't think they could buy quality plants online, and now they have from us. They'll be more inclined to do it again. I don't honestly. I think going to a garden centre and buying plants is a nice thing to do. So I don't think it's going to take over from people going out and buying plants at all. But it might slowly increase. It's created new jobs, and it's allowed us to bring in new, reliable members of the team who have been an asset to multiple aspects of the business. And it's allowed us, as I alluded to above, to become a business in the community that people are proud to have down the road from them. Some people didn't even know we were here, and now it's just got a nice community spirit. So, as much as I'm proud of the success of the retail business, that there are some drawbacks. It's not all good. It's not all easy. There is difficult bits to it. So, firstly, you do need people to run it, and obviously, I had quite a lot of time last year because the garden centre was shut. But as the trade side of our business has picked back up, I've had to train other members of staff to take over parts of the retail business. So that's difficult. Training people to do a job that you're doing is always hard. Sometimes you don't like sort of handing over and that sort of thing. And it's something if you're going to do it, you've got to do it well. I don't think that it's viable without the trade business. You couldn't be like a standalone business. It sort of piggybacks on the trade business. it will, when the garden centre opens, it will require surplus stock. Again, for this year, we just don't know exactly what that is. Have we got enough space, etc. And one of the biggest ones is it's unknown how it will work when the garden centres are fully open again. Like, will people buy plants from our website? How busy will it be? Can we cope if it's really busy? Have we got too many people doing it and they're not going to have anything to do? How many pickers and delivery drivers will do? We just don't know. So that makes me nervous of this year. I'm excited but nervous. And again, it's seasonal trade, so it's like the perennial problem for any sort of bedding plant grower. We're selling the same stuff as we sell to garden centres. April, May and June are going to be hectic and mental, and we'll be too busy. And then the rest of the year it'll be we could do with it being busier. So we haven't got away from that. So the next steps. So our next steps as the business continues to grow is to produce stock that is specifically for the retail website, which we've done this year. We have plans to develop the retail team's careers within the company as it grows. We have a new delivery system planned. It's actually been implemented, which notifies customers when their delivery is out for orders, and when it's been delivered, etc., to give our customers a better experience. We have a new range of eco-friendly fruit, vegetable, and herb plants, which is planned to launch this spring, which sort of aimed at the grow your own market, which should be pretty good this year. Just want to add that it's not going to take over from the wholesale business at all. It's only a very small part, but it's something that's helped us this year. We're going to continue. So is there any questions? I'll hand back to James now.
Thank you, Graham. Perfect timing. I have to say you're spot on with your timing. It's superb. I do have a few questions just to put into the mix while Natalie is preparing her presentation. Obviously, I don't expect you to answer these immediately, but perhaps during the session we could cover these points again. One of the things was regarding the Shopify. Does it link in sort of seamlessly with your sales order processing systems and also your accounts package? I know some of them not necessarily the easiest to link up with. Also, I think one of the other questions I really wanted to include was along the lines of what did your other retailers feel in terms of existing customers when they found out that you were offering plants direct to their customers in effect? What was the reaction? Were they understanding, or were they sort of hostile to the action? I completely understand, excuse me, the need for customer service, and it's a huge thing to try and undertake when you're offering this kind of service. And as you rightly say, it's completely and utterly the way you deal with a complaint as to the level of experience that the consumer will get. So it's not really a question, it's more of a sort of statement to you to say congratulations on that for nailing it, because it is very, very difficult in order to get that one linked. How did you, I suppose this is linked in with the retailer side of things, how did you position yourselves in terms of your retail so that you weren't wholesale price direct to consumers, that you were somewhere between retailer and wholesaler? How did you make that decision, and did you take any advice anywhere? So those are the sort of questions I want to sort of ask now, but maybe we can answer in the session later on. Hopefully Natalie is preparing preparing her presentation to take over, but in the short term, Graham, thank you very, very much for your presentation. Natalie, I hope you're ready. We'll be seeing Graham again. We'll be seeing Graham again later today. So thank you for now, and I'd like
Thanks, everyone.
to take a few moments just to introduce Natalie, who is from Happy Plants. Natalie Porter. She's a director at Happy Plants, and the introduction to her presentation of, excuse me, new gardeners, new gardens, and the drive-through experience. So over to you, Natalie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, hi, I'm Natalie Porter. My family run the bedding plant nursery Happy Plants, which some of you may previously have known as Porter's Fuchsias. My role within that business is on the business development marketing side of things. So new gardeners and getting young people into gardening has been a focus of mine, both pre and during the apocalypse. So hopefully this can be a whistle-stop tour of where I'm up to in terms of my research into who the new gardeners might be and how best to approach them, but then also to touch on our direct to customer marketing that we did during the first lockdowns, hopefully without duplicating too much of what Graham said. So to start off with our new gardeners and new gardens presentation, I want to cover the things we already needed to consider to be able to engage with a future consumer, how the virus has affected the behaviour of pre-existing consumers, the consumers that lockdown has inspired or accelerated into gardening, and then how we can use these considerations to evolve our own businesses and collectively our industry. So things we already needed to consider, these are the things I was harping on about this time last year before COVID was even a catchword. So gardening as an inherited skill or hobby has been diminished by the influences of technology. This is the principle that children have been choosing screen time over green time. Brand horticulture, as we've known it in recent years, relies heavily on customers aging into its relevant demographic. Could we rely on people continuing to grow up and hit 60 and one day wake up and want to plant rhododendrons if it's something they've never had the seeds of nostalgia and experience planted for? Younger generations have only lived in a world where they are a blue dot on a map and everything revolves around them. They're a blue dot on the map, a pizza comes to that blue dot at the press of a button, an Uber comes to that blue dot at the press of a button. And that's a very different sort of consumer to market towards than we were previously used to. But then the virus moved the goalposts. So whereas before my main focus consumer was very much this blue dot consumer, as I just mentioned, everything moves to them. It's sort of adjusted not only that consumer and split them down further, but it's also affected our existing customers. So if we look at these three as focus customers, on the left, we have our existing core customer. In the middle, we have somebody I've christened the house proud hincher. Is a house proud cleaning, Instagrams about her cleaning experience, very much driven by aesthetics. On the right hand side, we have who was previously the houseplant parent. This is your customer that collects the rare species and Instagrams about them with their full Latin names, etc. If we look at each of them now, our core older customer has suddenly very quickly had to learn to use the internet to be able to safely access food, medication, etc. So I'm calling him now the evolved elderly. And how does the fact that he is now able and confident to order things online affect his interactions with plants? If we move towards the lady who was previously, or it could be a man, but the customer who was previously very much house proud, driven by sharing pictures of how tidy and immaculate and on trend her decorations were, somewhere amongst lockdown, they, I don't know if they got a bit bored, but they moved their efforts outside and started the grey paint floor rug scatter cushion obsession from inside started to be emulated into the garden. So rather than a gardener, I think they're a garden decorator. Then we move to our houseplant parent. Once the lockdown hit, probably furloughed, they used every windowsill, scrap of paving that they could possibly lay their hands on, allotments, wasteland, urban planting, and turned them into hubs of sustainability and produce. And I think this was your customer who was buying your strip veg, etc., throughout the lockdown. And they've almost graduated from a houseplant parent to an overall plant parent. I find it easiest to visualize things by creating visual images of how they might look. So I've built a garden digitally for each of these customers. If we look at the evolved elderly, his garden looks much the same. Plants have always been his pride and joy. His choices are driven by name varieties, things he's had previously had success with. But does he now need click and collect or home delivery, at least in the interim? And even so, once the measures are relaxed and everybody feels a bit safer to go out again, will he have got used to that luxury of things coming to him? And is that something that we need to keep an eye on moving forwards? Looking at the garden decorator here, you see the grey fence, the grey paint, the inexplicable floor rug, which just seems like a slip trip hazard to me, but has become very popular. For them in this garden, I think we can see plants are there as a decorative ornament. They are driven by instant impact, social media recommendations, Facebook, Instagram. It's all about how it looks in a picture, how shareable it is, how desirable it is. Then we move on to the plant parent. Plants for them absolutely have to be functional. Their decisions are influenced by sustainable credentials. They're looking for plants that feed the people, plants that feed the bees, plants that help the air quality. Their sort of inspirations and are most likely to be shared YouTube, TikTok, how-to videos. So a very different set of customers. And I think as an industry, when we've looked at younger customers in the past, it's been a case of this is all the separately marked out categories of older people who we currently engage with, and then there's the young ones we haven't yet approached. And I think now they're such a significant portion of our market and will continue to be so moving forward. It's about time we deserve them more individualized identities. I think the lockdown that we've just obviously ongoing lockdowns that we've just been through, but the first one in particular has been a launch pad for horticulture to catch up. And I think we really do need to get to grips with who these new consumers are, because not only are they very different than the ones that we've had before, but the digital revolution is ongoing, is still accelerating. They will be more similar to all of those we will have thereafter. So it's not a case of just being able to ignore the fact that our consumer has changed. We need to step up and stick with them when we get there and keep evolving and keep moving to keep up with the very different customers we're going to face from here on in. So each category of horticulture needs to consider how accessible and appealing they are to each of our evolved consumers. Obviously, we're bedding plant nursery, so looking at it from our point of view, we look at the evolved elderly. The product doesn't need to change. We just possibly need to readdress his means of access. If we look at the plant parent, bedding probably isn't going to appeal to them. It's not particularly functional. It is a decorative ornament, effectively, which was why I think it fits really well with our houseplant, our house-proud Hincher, who has now become our garden decorator. So the garden decorator is an ideal fit for bedding plants because they absolutely love bright colours, instant impact. Anything that's Instagrammable basically is their remit. They want to redecorate regularly, so they don't really mind how long a plant was intended to last. To them, an orange osteospermum in a pot is the same value as, a Rudbeckia or a Coreopsis or a more expensive product. To them, it is literally an orange ornament. They're after an easy care product. Low maintenance, instant gardening. They don't even have to get their hands dirty. And quite importantly, the last point, they don't have any preconceptions over perceived value of a product. So they could be a really good way to find better margin. Any bedding plant growers out there, I don't need to tell you about the suppression of price that we've been going through for the past 30 years. I can look at a catalogue from when I was a few years old, back in the early 90s, and the prices then for the same products were higher than they are now. And this compression can't continue. Now, that compression is very much based on, if you look at a pack of Impatiens, it has a ceiling price at $3.99. You're never getting past that with the customer you already had. But this customer, you could take 4 of those Impatiens and put them in a bell pot and sell it for possibly £10, £12. And just wanted to cover a quick example of that philosophy in horticultural action. So we have here a pack of Mr. Fothergill's sunflower giant single seed. So this is a sort of a luxury sunflower seed, if you will, but commanding a price of £1.35. So you're looking at under 2p a seed there. This is a company called Growbar, and what they do is they take seeds, they plant them in a very small block of coir, wrap them up in fancy packaging, market them as absolutely foolproof, and they market them wrapped up like a chocolate bar, fancy pictures, very evocative imagery, and market them through gift websites and also through RHS shops and other garden centres. But for the luxury of that, 15 seeds in here, £12. And they have got a whole range of these bars. I think in total they've got 28, but they're all themed. You know, you've got a gin bar in there, one to grow your own bouquet, and Roman herbs, Tudor herbs, one to attract bees. And I think that just shows that the opportunities are there to escape the price compression with a bit of clever marketing. Anyway, moving on to our retail journey. As I say, I will try to not go over too much of what Graham's already covered. These slides are quite information heavy, but intentionally so that they can be there as a resource to look back upon afterwards if the setup we've put in place proves useful to anybody else. Situation, as Graham's already covered, hundreds of thousands of plants coming ready each week, gridlocked, cash at a standstill. We had staff to pay, and that was both furloughed staff and working staff. We'd applied for the business interruption loan, but didn't have a realistic timeline available as yet. So we were basically propping the business up with our own bank accounts at this point, and they didn't have, as growers, I'm sure you can appreciate, there wasn't much wiggle room in that to keep us going for long. So we came up with an improvised, I've called it a survival rather than a solution. And much as Graham said, we created a Shopify. We used all of our friends and family and a friend's teenager who had a bike with a trailer, and we pedaled, cycled, pushed, wheeled, drove every plant we could possibly get a sale against out the nursery as quickly as we could. We did a few things that I just want to touch on that I don't know if Graham did or just didn't cover, but we only listed a maximum of 12 products at a time with a minimum price of £10 an item. So if it was pack bedding, it was sold in bundles of 4. Minimum order at 30 quid, and we called in every favour, every bribe we possibly could to every sort of local community selling page we could find, and got it all over Facebook. I think we were actually at a little bit of an advantage. We actually had a retail or cash and carry premises here about 20 years ago, and that sort of gave us an advantage in the fact that we're in a silver citizen area, and a lot of them had experience of buying our plants recently and relished the opportunity to do so again. It was chaos. We couldn't keep up. 150 orders day one. We kept having to toggle the web shop open and shut. We were announcing the next openings with a countdown clock like it was Glastonbury tickets that we were trying to sell. We had hundreds of people bombarding the very under-resourced offices, even though we asked them not to. And I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning when orders closed each night trying to plan the delivery routes for each vehicle the next day. Even so, we couldn't touch the sides of the demand. It was so inefficient, and it was really frustrating because we had the volumes available, but the demand was there for the custom, but we just couldn't physically keep up on the admin side or the physical delivering side. So it wasn't ideal, but it raised some much needed cash. As Graham touched upon, you're getting retail price. Your customers are paying immediately. You're not waiting for end of month following. And it put us, again, as Graham covered, in very good favour with the local area. Cleared some stock, didn't make a dent, but it was a lot more palatable to turn stock into cash than compost. We also used it to raise some funds for some local charities, which was a nice thing to be able to do as well. It was labour and admin intensive. We couldn't come close to keeping up with the orders. We worked out that we sacked off the bike after a while. That just got too much, but it was amusing while it lasted. But with 3 drivers working flat out, we could just about get through 80 orders a day. We used loads of fuel running backwards and forwards, and it relied on people being home to receive their plants, which was really easy in lockdown. But I'm not so sure how that would work in the longer term. So we came up with this evolution again of our home delivery system, which became the Happy Plants drive-through. As I mentioned earlier, we previously had a retail business operating here, and because of that, we still have retail permission to use this site for direct-to-customer sales. So the drive-through was sort of a compromise, and I will just quickly run you through how it worked. We used the same Shopify web shop setup. We just added a load of time slots as products. and asked people and reminded people, and then when they forgot, emailed them to ask them to order a time slot for their order. We set up a gardening club, annual membership £25. Memberships run November to November, and this works really well at giving us some extra cash flow through the winter. It doesn't cost anything for somebody to, for us, doesn't cost us anything for somebody to become a member, but it puts extra money in the bank to get us through the dark of winter. They get 10% off year round, but obviously that we've got £25, so the first £250 they spent, we've already got the extra 10% on, but after that it just promotes return custom. They share it with their friends. We send them out articles, and as Graham says, the plant of the week, what to do with your pansies, etc. We then set up 2 collection points on our site, big up and over doors, and we can accommodate 12 customers per 15 minutes, so we're 48 per hour. It's flat out. We work in pairs with a pair at each collection door, but it means we can get through a week's worth of work, 400 customers, without using a drop of fuel. And orders close a minimum of 3 days before the collection event, meaning we know exactly what we're going to pack and pick well in advance. All contactless, and as I mentioned, we have an elderly population around here, and it's as COVID safe as possible. So how we kept it COVID safe, this is a protocol that we send out a couple of days before the event, and we ask the customer to write their surname and order number on a piece of paper, which they then hold up to the attendant on the gate. Through their car window, the attendant directs them to one of 2 collection points. They hold up the sign again, large signs asking them to show a thumbs up if they're happy for us to load the car boot for them, which is 99% of the time the case. Occasionally we get a thumbs down. We put the plants by the car boot, we retreat back inside the doors, and only then can the customer get out and load their own car. That is the only time the customer is allowed out of the car on site. They're normally in and out of sight within a minute, 90 seconds. It's rapid. It's significantly less labour and fuel and admin intensive. It's much easier to move volume as it's so much more efficient. A week's worth of work for 3 vans who obviously have to have someone restocking them at either end, or a day's worth of work for 2 teams of 2. It makes it a massive difference. Because we stick to maximum 15 products, we just collate the orders directly into the boot. There's no sort of prep. We just know that we need 35 of those, 50 of those, etc. We literally just make up the orders into the car boot. We feel it's a safer alternative. We have people that have come to us for plants that still don't feel safe to do their own supermarket shopping, etc. And we're still getting retail price in the bank the minute they place the order. And it's really convenient for the customer. They can order in their own time online, browse through everything we've got, and they quickly pick up their products without having to visit a shop. I think this is something that's going to become even more important in the long term, when we've got customers that have been furloughed that go back to full-time work, and they've only got 1 day or 2 days a week off work. Do they want to spend the first half of one of those days traipsing around in the hope that they can find what they're looking for in a garden centre, or do they want to already have their basket filled, know exactly what they're going to pick up, make the decisions in the middle of the night or whenever it is, and just place the order ready to pick up, and then they've got the whole weekend to do what they like with it. So we hope to continue because it offers us security and versatility that we previously not available to us. Again, local people saved us, there's no doubt, through the lockdowns, and they want to continue to buy our plants. So I worked pretty hard to find a way to keep that reasonable within the lines of our wholesale business. It has a huge positive effect on local opinion of our business. Hopefully in a couple of years or over the next couple of years, we'll be in a position to be applying for planning permissions, etc., for new sites, and the opportunities to keep the public on side should definitely be taken when you're looking down that path. It, for the most part, doesn't interfere with our ongoing wholesale operations. I just put, as I say, I closed the orders a few days before, so I just put an order through to cover the stock for everything that's sold, and that gets picked as if it's going to a garden centre, and we just dispatch it car by car on the day. Also allows us to test trial products and gain more feedback than selling wholesale. We're, as Graham says, in the situation where we have got, thankfully, I think we've got 3 4-stars and 167 5-star reviews. And where there have been grievances, it's nice to have the opportunity to address them and turn them into a positive experience for the customer. Whereas before, we sell to the garden centres, and if they reorder, you assume it's selling quite well, but you're not hearing which the particular favourites are, which listed particularly well, that their geraniums, we sold them last May, are still flowering now, etc. So it's sort of become a valuable part of what we do, and something we hope to continue. It isn't going to replace the wholesale business, as Graham says, it piggybacks on the wholesale business, but it's become quite a big community project for us as well. One of the last things we added was the customers are coming to us with an empty car boot. Why don't they bring things for the food bank? And it really has sort of evolved and snowballed into something that's much more than we could have ever hoped when we originally set it up as a panicked solution last March. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I think what we can glean from both of the initial presentations is that the amount of work that both businesses have actually put into trying to salvage something out of what was potentially a very damaging situation. Very briefly, before we go on to Graham's next presentation, Natalie, I've got some questions for you, which I will save actually for the session because I'm just conscious of time. So thank you for your presentation. I look forward to catching up with you again in the session a little later. For those attending the conference, the session time is actually at 12:40, not as I accidentally put on the chat at 10:40. So Graham, to introduce you again, and this is a presentation regarding the social media marketing plan, and hopefully you can hear me and you're ready to continue. So thank you, Natalie, and we'll talk to you later. Over to you, Graham.
Yeah, thank you, James. Just in time there, so that's great. Thanks, Nat. That's really good. Really good. No pressure for this one then. So, right, this next presentation is I'm going to talk about our social media plan. Basically, how we used social media to advertise ourselves and to let people know what we were doing. I must say this is not my sort of real area of expertise. Laura, my fiance, made this how-to guide for us to use at the start of the first lockdown, and it will be available for everyone listening to have a look at, and they can take it away. It does really work very well, and luckily Lauren used to do the social media for a large UK pub chain, so she sort of really knows her stuff. So here we go. So firstly, target audience. So here we explain the importance of knowing and understanding your target audience. This should be at the forefront of everything you post on social media. For example, if your audience is older, you want to avoid overuse of emojis and hashtags. And this carries on very nicely from what Nat was saying. And we've probably been guilty of doing what Natalie said we shouldn't do, and sort of assuming our target audience is a little bit older. But anyway, our target audience is predominantly females aged from 30 to 65. Facebook is our most valuable tool for advertising our business. You may wish to extend onto Twitter and Instagram, but these do not facilitate our target audience as much as Facebook would. You can share your Facebook posts on Twitter and Instagram, but there's not much value in spending time building these profiles, or we didn't feel there was enough value to spend too much time on it, and we still don't. So the next 6 slides I'm going to cover, over the next 3 slides, I'll explain how to modify the aesthetic of your Facebook page to engage customers, as well as utilizing features such as community groups and scheduled posting. I'm just going to add that Lauren uses a website called Canva, that's Canva, to design all of the posts, banners, stories, videos, and adverts that we use on our social media. and we recommend it to anyone wanting to create their own sort of point of sale. I've even used it. It's not particularly expensive a month, and even I can create some really nice professional looking stuff. So I'm sure you can too. And I'm not very good at designing stuff at all. So your Facebook page, your Facebook banner is the first thing customers see when they click on your page. It's basically the photo at the top. So it should be clear from a glance what your business offers. Utilize the stories feature to post regular deals or updates. So users will view these without having to visit your page directly. A pinned post is a post that you can keep at the top of your page. If you have a particular post you want every customer to see, you can pin it by clicking the three dots in the top right corner of the post and pinning it to your wall. That's, for example, if you want Christmas opening times, delivery times, something important you want everyone to see, for example. So, community groups. These worked particularly well for us, so I would highly recommend using community groups to advertise and to your benefit. Once you've decided the areas that you will be delivering to, search each individual town in Facebook and join their respective community groups. So if we're based in Hersham, we typed in Hersham, and we have a group called the Hersham Hub, Hersham Village Community, lots of stuff, and every village and town will have their own community groups where they have members, and local people are members of the group. So if you post something on the group, everyone within the group can see it. So it's a great way to get everyone seeing your posts. So once you've been accepted, you create posts in each group, let them know what you're offering, and you can include a link to your website. You can do this by copying and pasting the URL from the search bar, and that will create a link within your post when you post it to the page. So anyone that sees it, they say, oh, I like the look of that, they can click on it, and it will take them away from Facebook and onto your page so they can buy some of your plants. A quite important point to note is most of these pages will have rules about when you can advertise your business. So do make sure you read the rules to ensure you keep the peace. The people running these Facebook groups, you're definitely not going to win an argument against. So sometimes you've got to bite your tongue and just abide by the rules. And like I said, keep the peace. So just bear that in mind. It's usually on Mondays where you can post stuff about selling stuff. It's so the group's not filled up with lots of advertisement all through the week. So just bear that in mind. Presence. It's important you post daily to ensure your business is kept on customers' timelines. So what that means is every time someone opens Facebook on their phone, if you have a new post, that will come up at the top and they'll be able to see that. If you only post once a week, they may only see it once a week, or they may not be on the phone when you post, so they might miss it. Creating posts can be time consuming, but by creating several posts at a time and scheduling them, your Facebook page can essentially run itself through a week. What we do is on a Monday, we set up our weekly Facebook posts with pictures, and then we have them so they post once every day. Then you only need to respond to comments on your post as they come in, and to schedule a post, you can follow the following steps. I won't go through in detail. I'll just flick through the pages here. You can all have a look at it in more detail if you need to. So publishing tool you find at the top. Create a post. And once you've created your posts, you can click on share now, and you can change it to schedule, and then you can select the date and time you want the post to run. So the next bit is lexical choices. So if you're like me, the first time I heard this, I didn't have a clue what Lauren was talking about, but it's actually really good. It makes a lot of sense. It just really works. It's basically common sense, but it's really clever. And you might, if you're doing stuff on Facebook, you might not be doing it. You might have overlooked it. So lexical choices are key They're important when communicating with your audience. It can be easy to cross the line between passionate sales and pushy, annoying salesmen. The words you select for your posts create the business image you want your customers to connect with. Key changes to the vocabulary used can change your image from a disconnected corporate business to one that the community want to support and engage with. So rather than staff, customers, and business, we chose and still use their team, family, and friends. And we also use community for customers as well. These simple changes to your post can make a customer feel a part of your business and want to support the family they're engaging with. If you write a post and then change the words to include these sorts of words, it really changes how it sounds, and it sounds really friendly and lovely, and like just how people want to be spoken to, and make them feel a part of something, which is really important. So extending lexical choices. So using the right words to create community and make people engage and feel the way you want to is not just Facebook posts. It should sort of permeate throughout the business. So creating your community can extend into other areas of social media advertising. By creating discount codes that include these language choices, your customers feel a continuation of their engagement with the business. So we used a discount code called Friends of Woodlark, which was maybe a 10% discount. I think we still have that running, and advertised it to our friends and supporters on Facebook as a thank you for their support. This stuff works really well, and we've seen an increase of individuals that engage with these posts, choosing to create their own posts and reviews on community pages as they feel an affinity with the business, which is what you want them to feel. They want to buy from you, and they want to put a picture up and say, thank you very much, have a look at this, and let everyone else see it. And that's exactly what we want them to do. So advertising. Next portion of the plan explains how to use social media features to advertise to wider audiences. This includes using paid ad features, boosted posts, and using like and share competitions. So creating posts on your page is a key way to promote the business, products, and offers. We see an increased engagement with posts that include videos of our products. These videos are made on the free app iMovie that should be installed on all iPhones. You're able to create a slideshow of images which are on your phone and include music, and then for your customers to view the products. If you save the video in the smallest size to ensure it can be uploaded to Facebook. And videos work really well. People like sort of moving things, and the iMovie or Canva is particularly easy to use. You get 3 or 4 nice photos, and it sort of makes it for you. And you can post that as a bit of advertising that works well. We've seen good engagement with that. Boosted posts. So you can also pay to boost posts on Facebook. So posts have the option to target age ranges and location. So you basically choose who you want to see it. And that's where Facebook's really good, because it's got everyone's information, and it can be quite specific on who sees your post. So in theory, you shouldn't be wasting too much money. These often cost around £5 for 1 week's worth of advertising and gain a much larger reach than non-boosted posts. Basically, Facebook makes sure that more people see it, and it's relatively inexpensive. And as I said, they can be quite specific with their advertising, which is good. You'll see a boost button on posts that Facebook can boost for you. It's fairly simple to set up. So next is run through on the ad center. So to create an ad. So here you can use videos or images from your page to create adverts that target a specific audience. you can add the URL to your website and select a Shop Now button to connect users to your products. Check each step carefully to ensure you have all the correct information before you send your ad out. It sounds stupid, but just make sure you're putting the right website details, or you haven't got any spelling mistakes. You've used the right words. You haven't used customer. You've used the proper lexical choices, friends, family, all that sort of stuff before you send it. Communication. So you need to maintain a dialogue with your customers. It's very important. They like this. They like to feel important. You should be responding to every review, comment on posts, and message with the tone that matches your posts and the lexical choices that you've decided to use. Avoid being overly formal, as this can create a disconnect with your customers. Referring to your team can also create a positive connection with the audience. For example, this is one of our posts. The team at Woodlawn would like to thank you for your positive review. We're working hard to keep the community busy in their gardens and are delighted to see your patio in bloom. So that's sort of like a pretty good post using all the right words. Like the team at Woodlawn would like to thank you for your positive review. And we're working hard to keep the community busy in their gardens, and we're sort of encouraging them by saying, we're delighted to see your patio in bloom. We encourage them to upload sort of more photos so that more people see our products. Competition. So competitions are adding competitions that require the users to like and share your posts will create a wider reach for your group. If a person on Facebook likes and or shares your post, then all of their friends will be able to see it as well. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Their friends will be able to view your business and will also engage in your promotion because they'll probably want to win a free plant. But it's very important that you see your competitions through by revealing a winner on your page so that customers will return to see the next prize. We've got a little bit of a funny story on this one. We'd done a fuchsia competition for a large fuchsia basket, and there were lots of likes and shares on Facebook, and we picked the winner by random, and it was our very own Simon Davenport. So I quickly changed that to a more local customer. Sorry, Simon. Utilizing existing networks. So Natalie has sort of alluded to this as well. So use existing relationships with businesses to share your website. If you have worked with businesses in the past or friends that already have a social media presence, communicate with them to see if you can exchange advertising deals, or just ask your friends to share and like all of your posts. It really does help because then all their friends see it, and hopefully you'll get a couple more people like it, and it spreads quite quickly. Offer to promote other businesses in exchange for you promoting theirs. From this, we have built advertising and sponsorship deals with businesses that will hopefully extend beyond lockdown. A good example of this is Hirschman in Bloom. We now supply lots of plants for no cost because we're supporting the local community. But in return, I got some plaques made, which are stuck on all the big plaques, which are stuck on all the planters around the village, which have our website and tell people exactly what they do. So that's a great way to improve our local, the knowledge of the business to local people. I think that's my last slide. So we managed to build up a solid following last spring, and I'm seeing customers return now that bought from us last year. And we have reviews and emails from customers who feel an affinity with our business and have vowed to continue to buy from us in the future. So that's pretty much what it is. But any questions, I can go into a bit more detail. And like I said, the plan there, which was put together by someone who knows their stuff, is available to everyone to use. And that's everything, James.
Thank you, Graham. That's fantastic. Again, just looking at timings, I think we need to stop in about 3 minutes or so for a brief 10-minute coffee and comfort break. But thank you for that. That's brilliant. I know we'll be talking to you during the sessions that are coming up at 12:40. So just a reminder for all delegates that at 12:40 to 1 o'clock. We've got 3 sort of question and answer sessions on all the presentations today or this morning. So we've got direct marketing session, the discussion regarding and revolving around trips, and then finally growing your workforce. So do please, in this sort of break time or at lunchtime, take the opportunity to go and get involved with those sessions. Likewise, do, if you get time, go to the expo to go and have a look at some of the organisers, sponsors of the organisation. Sorry, that didn't come out particularly fluid, but yeah, do please go and see the support and sponsors for the conference. So I'm going to leave you now. Look forward to catching up with you at around about 11:10, where Wayne will be introducing the next theme. Thank you very much.